We got Tucker Carlson doing a video about why healthcare sucks in America. He's going to be interviewing Brigham Buhler, and it's about the CEO assassination and how the insurance companies rip you off.
This health insurance CEO is murdered on the street on 6th Avenue in New York a couple of weeks ago. And the reaction to it is not what I expected. 41% of younger people say they support the murder. And on the one hand, you think, well, clearly there's a spiritual crisis in the country. That's nihilism. There's no defending murdering a guy, any guy, in my opinion. However, it also reveals, so I'm not in any sense justifying it. I think it's appalling. I want to understand that more. Yeah. I mean, I hate them, but I don't really know why I hate them.
Yeah. No.
You tell me.
What happened is terrible. It's terrible and it's tragic. And I mean, obviously, I never condone violence, and the loss of human life is a tragedy. But so is the loss of 1.7 million Americans a year to chronic disease.
Yes.
And
the issue with that, right, is they make money off of treating the chronic disease, but like our medicine system doesn't incentivize prevention. Doctors don't really get paid to prevent. There's a lot less money in preventing illness than there is in treating it.
These big insurance conglomerates are implicitly contributing to the chronic disease crisis that America faces. They're profiteering off the disease. They're delaying people's ability to get coverage and care. And there's a lot of money being made through these dark pathways and approaches to these insurance companies and the revenues that they generate. It's all become a profit-driven system. And when I testified in front of the Senate with Bobby Kennedy and the Maha Group, my main message was the corporate capture of our institutions and how that is the real cause of the chronic disease crisis that we're facing. And candidly, the insurance companies aren't only implicitly involved, they are probably one of the major contributors that somehow have gone unnoticed for decades.
And the issue with a lot of this stuff, honestly, is that, the health thing is health is a little bit more complicated than other topics because you need it. You absolutely need it. You can't not do it, basically, right? The other issue is that the government gets fucking involved in this stuff, and basically the government fucks shit up all the time. And we talked about this a little bit before about how it's illegal. It's illegal basically to, Oka said that wasn't 100% true, or maybe it is. I'd have to look it up. But basically, there are a lot of cases where the drug is actually cheaper market rate than the copay, but then the insurance still charges you the full amount, despite the fact that you can buy it for cash for cheaper. So if a drug costs $1, they still charge you $10 for it, and then they pocket the difference. Regulation destroys competition, says Rocket Road Bear, 100%. And this is why it's so irritating, because a lot of these corruptions are actually the government's fault, and the government should be working for us, and they aren't. They were private; they'd been fired a long time ago.
Maybe it does make sense. I'm trying to understand it. So the profit motive is designed to improve the quality of goods and services. That's what we've been taught. So in other words, if I pay more for a hotel, if I stay at the Four Seasons instead of Motel 6, I get a nicer room. If I pay more for a car, I get a nicer car. We pay more for healthcare than any country in the world, but we have crappy healthcare.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
The idea of healthcare insurance started right in Houston, Texas, in the Texas Medical Center with Baylor. Baylor Hospital began to offer insurance plans to patients to try and make it a consistent payment plan where they could have accessibility to preventative care. And that was the premise of what Baylor did.
So health insurance is a fairly new idea?
Well, since the 1930s, but it got captured in the 80s and became HMOs. And so essentially, once it was HMOs, it became a profit center, and it changed. It pivoted. And so
those damn homos.
The money that's being made off of every single chronic
that seems like a freaking an insult, like you homo.
Disease, and by delaying the onset of these procedures and surgeries. So it's pretty nuanced.
It is. And I'm going to ask a ton of dumb questions.
Okay.
Because I'm on
it.
What's the difference between an HMO and pre-1980s health insurance?
So prior to the 80s, your doctor knew you. They knew your family. They showed up with their little leather bag.
Yeah.
They knew everybody.
You
in
guys
the
know in like those old shows and like old movies, like the doctor like comes to your house and then they're like, yeah.
They spent time with you. In the system we have today, because the insurance companies control the doctor's reimbursement rates, the clinician only spends 6 minutes with you on average here in the United States. And in 6 minutes, how can they possibly uncover the root cause, talk to you about family history, diet, lifestyle, nutrition, which they're not trained on in the first place? So it created an issue with the ability to prevent chronic disease is one section of that. But the other end of that is once these insurance conglomerates got a hold of our healthcare institutions.
See, one of the big issues here, because this is all fucked up, right? So the government, creates regulations that makes a lot of this possible. The government fucks it up. And then what happens is, understandably, people are upset that the healthcare sucks, right? If you have bad healthcare, obviously it's something that you care about because it's like your well-being, right? The problem is people find the solution as well. We should just have socialized healthcare. Right. But socialized healthcare also has like its own problems. This thing that we have as healthcare is not actually a free market healthcare. It sounds more like what they used to have is that like with your doctor, like you pick your doctor's like comes to your house and like they have a vested interest in like you just doing better. Yeah. Because what happens is if you socialize all the healthcare, now you have issues with like rationing, right? Socializing something doesn't create more of it. And like you have cases like in Canada, for instance, this is a thing going on in Canada right now where you're like, oh, I have to get like this leg surgery. Like, oh, my leg fucking hurts, man. Like, it's fucked up. And they're like, have you considered killing yourself? It's like, no, can I get surgery? I just want to get surgery. 3 months and then come back. And you get like the leg surgery, right? And you're like, oh, I got some pain from this leg surgery. Can I get like a follow-up on that? Well, can I get a follow-up on that? And they're like, but I have another solution. Oh yeah, what's that? Have you tried killing yourself? Bro.
And took over, they began to profiteer off of the chronic disease. So it's not just where it gets very, very complicated. And what people don't understand, Trump actually yesterday announced that he was going to break up PBMs. And when I talked to Bobby Kennedy, I was walking him through the PBM and what it is. So many people say these middlemen, or even when I did Bobby's podcast, he said, what is a PBM? I have insurance, not a pharmacy benefit manager. And I said,
Okay.
You have a pharmacy benefit manager that claims that it outsources your drug coverage to a to a PBM. But the truth is they own the PBM. It's like Scooby-Doo.
So
you pull the mask off and it's like, oh, it was Mr. Rogers all along.
So
man.
PBM stands for Pharmacy Benefit
Pharmacy
Manager.
Pharmacy benefit
managers.
manager. And they
Okay.
were established in the 70s to be an advocate for the American people to drive down the cost of prescription drug care.
Why is it they do this shit and it just always they become the opposite? They become the opposite of what they're trying
Their
to do.
job was to negotiate on our behalf to drive down the cost of our medications.
Yes.
And along the way, as the insurance companies became a for-profit institution, guess what they did? They went out and they gobbled up all of the middlemen. So the pharmacy benefit
Bastards.
managers in America are all owned by the 5 big insurance companies. So when you pull back the layers to the onion, what you find is they've turned the PBM into a profit center. So rather than negotiating down the cost of prescription drug care, they negotiated up
And his
the
Wave
cost.
has a great
But
video
why?
on the history
Why would
of
you
United
negotiate
States
up
healthcare.
the cost? Because
Highly
they
recommend.
Does he really? Does he really, Doomslayer? Mentis has one? All right, we'll check it out later.
by negotiating up, they get rebates. We would call them kickbacks in any other business. Essentially, I'll use a real world example. GLP-1s are hot right now. Everyone's talking about the price of Ozempic and how it's so expensive, it's egregious. Roughly 30% of the cost of every prescription drug is because the 30% kickback is going to a PBM. So if Ozempic's $1,000 a month, $300 a month are going to the pharmacy benefit manager via a kickback. It's a pay-to-play system.
So who pays? The drug maker pays the pharmacy?
The drug maker pays the pharmacy benefit manager the $300 per month in order to be placed on a preferred contract with the insurance company, which is the PBM. And it's so staggering. Let's talk about UnitedHealthcare, since that's the CEO that was, unfortunately assassinated. If we break down UnitedHealthcare, they generated $373 billion in revenue last year. Okay. 60% of that revenue came from their pharmacy benefit manager, a holding company that nobody knows about. The general public, our politicians, they don't understand this and they don't get it. And I'm
Are the
trying
profit
to.
margins high in that business?
The profit margins are not as high as big pharma, but there's a lot of levers that they're pulling to hide their profits, right? And you can make, there's liars, there's damn liars, and then there's statistics.
Yeah.
These guys are using a lot of levers to hide their profitability. And so a lot of the profitability is held at the pharmacy benefit manager holding company. And so they can artificially dilute down their profitability on paper. As an industry, the health insurance companies, and I said this on Rogan, they are the hidden juggernaut
he was on
that
Rogan.
nobody is seeing. Everyone's saying big pharma, big pharma, big pharma. Big pharma did,
I didn't see that episode of Joe Rogan.
I think, $600 million, and you look at these big insurance companies, they did 2.5 that in revenue, 2.5 times that in revenue. They did $1.5 trillion, north of they're projecting that they'll do $1.9 trillion in revenue by 2029.
So can we, in a nod to my personal ignorance, I should
Brigham Buhler.
just say I don't know. I don't go to the doctor. I don't know what my health insurance plan is. I just have no,
Me too.
once the COVID thing happened, I was like, I'm not going to the doctor.
Yeah.
And I haven't. So I'm a little bit out of it. I'm not as knowledgeable as most Americans on how exactly this works. Can you walk through the average person's experience of health insurance and medical care?
Yeah,
So let's say I'm a
absolutely.
40-year-old woman. Women go to the doctor annually. I think most do. So they use the doctor more. How much is this person paying for insurance? Where's that money coming from? What's the experience like?
Yeah. So the average American, because of our food and our diet and our lifestyle, 90% of chronic disease is driven by lifestyle. If we peel back and look at what's causing these chronic diseases and get to the root cause, it's not just diet, lifestyle, and nutrition. It's that the system is failing Americans. Again, there is no safety net anymore. Your clinician doesn't have the time to do a deep dive. So the cancer that develops in your 40s started in your 30s. The diabetes that develops in your 40s started in your 30s. The chronic disease that hits you in your 50s started in your 40s. If we got proactive and predictive, we could prevent chronic disease. And chronic disease is killing 1.8 to 1.9 million Americans a year, more than every war we've ever fought since the history of this country. That's how staggering this is. Like you and I were talking before we got on this, the equivalent to a 747 jet worth of people are dying every day of opioid abuse, deaths of despair.
Dude, the opioid abuse thing is so fucked up. I watched I think it was a movie. When did I watch that? I watched a movie recently. By recently, I mean in the last year, about how they basically baited everyone into taking like incredibly addictive painkillers, and it fucking killed a ton of people.
At an all-time
Like
high,
normal ass
greater
people.
than that of the Great Depression, suicide, all-time high. All of these things are through the roof. We are chronically ill as a society. And if we look at the pillars of what's causing that, one branch is the big pharmaceutical industry.
Yes.
Another branch is the food industry, but
Yes.
the other dirty branch is the insurance companies. They are implicitly involved in this, and I'll show you how and why. So
wanna
the
know.
reason I know all this is because I was a drug rep, and then I was a medical device rep.
He was a drug rep. Okay, so he's like, if I'm correct on this, based on documentary thing I watched, documentary slash it was basically like one of those like based on real life movies or whatever. And it was drug reps are basically people that they work for the drug companies, right? And they try to sell the drug to doctors. They try to tell the doctors like, oh yeah, we got this new drug, like so good. Like here's a pamphlet on our drug. And the doctor's like, I'm not really interested. They're like, yeah, but like, what if we give you a commission? Every time you sell one of these like drugs, like we'll give you a little bit, a little something for you. You know what I mean? Here's some free samples. Like they're fucking like drug dealers, dude.
And I stood in surgeries of some of the best and brightest minds in the country. And from there, I owned labs and pharmacies that attempted to bill and work within the insurance framework. So if your grandmother were to come in and try and fill a medication, the average American's on 4 or more prescription drugs, which is just mind-boggling in itself.
It's kind. You know what's fucked up, guys? I'm not like a huge fan of censorship. Obviously, I isn't it fucked up that drug? Like, have you guys ever tried to watch like normie TV? Anyone ever watch normie TV? It's just fucking like, try out Ozempic, try out Zoloft. It's like fucking commercial. It's like just constant pharma ads. It's crazy. Like, what the fuck? Like, why? And it's like, yeah, you know what? You want to lose weight?
Camel Joe.
You wanna lose weight? Ask your doctor about Ozempic. It's like, what the fuck? Why would I ask my doctor about that shit? Or Zoloft or whatever the fuck? Why would I ask? Shouldn't the doctor know tell me what's best? Why am I telling the doctor what I want? Like, what?
Or more prescription drugs.
Side effects, death. Yeah, all the side effects, increased thoughts of suicide and death. Bro, what the fuck?
Is what the average American's on.
Average American.
Yes.
So like, I'm 55. Would that apply to my age group?
Yeah.
See a doctor if you're starting. See a doctor if you're pooping blood.
100. This is all age groups.
If there's blood coming from your eyes, ears, mouth, anus, pee hole. Talk to a doctor immediately.
Age demographic, I think
Urethra, that's
18
what I'm
to
looking
70
for.
something
Yeah,
years
thank
old,
you.
we're on 4 or more drugs on average, which is mind-boggling. If that doesn't tell you that there's something wrong with us and our system and our food, we've got to wake up and realize somebody has to say the emperor wears no clothes. Like, it's terrifying. So
I hope RFK takes a shit on all these people.
I love using the example of metformin because it's a very simplistic number.
I feel like this is an issue. This healthcare issue is an issue that all Americans can get behind. Right, center, we should all gang up on these people because fuck them. Right, like fuck these dudes. Honestly,
that I can show you. If you come into a pharmacy and
no, I'm not saying we should go kill people. We should destroy their asses in the courts and in the Congress, and we should point out any politician that's sucking their dicks. We should all take a shit on them.
tell me you have UnitedHealthcare. I have a gag clause as a pharmacy owner. It is illegal for me to tell you that I could sell you your metformin for cheaper than what the insurance is charging you. But you paid for that insurance coverage. Why can't I disclose to you that I can give you the product for cash?
Hold up. Trump just swindled the entire right out of their healthcare. Didn't Trump appoint RFK, who's like one of the biggest like fuck the drug companies people in existence in the political landscape? Isn't like RFK like the most like what do you mean? I'm confused. What do you mean? RFK, I don't know if he's still a Democrat, but RFK was a Democrat. He ran for president for Democrat, and his whole thing is that he fucking hates he hates like the food and drug industries because they fuck us over. And then Trump was like, yeah, that guy. That's the guy we're gonna pick because, you know, he fucking hates them.
Cheaper than your copay. So you come in, I swipe your card. Metformin cost me, I'm going to use ballpark numbers, roughly $2 for a month's supply. I would have sold you the metformin for $4. I'm not allowed to tell you that.
See,
I swipe.
This is what I
would have
thought.
sold
This
you
is
the
what I thought.
metformin for $4 numbers, roughly
This is what I
$2.
thought, Oka.
And I swipe you that I can give you the product for cash cheaper than your copay.
Yeah,
So
this is what I thought. Is this not real?
you come in, legal for me to come into a pharmacy and you tell me you have UnitedHealthcare. I have a gag clause as a pharmacy owner.
Is there a gag? Wait, Oka says there's no gag clause. We have free metformin programs. Does it depend?
It is illegal for me to tell you that I could sell you your metformin for cheaper than what the insurance is charging you. But you paid for that insurance coverage.
Dude, can you imagine that? You pay for insurance and they fuck you over?
Why can't I disclose to you that I can give you the product for cash cheaper than your copay? So you come in, I swipe your card. Metformin cost me, I'm going to use ballpark numbers, roughly $2 for a month's supply.
This is a lie? Well, he's lying, but like he also worked in that industry. Are you sure he's lying? Maybe it's different where you live?
I would have sold you the metformin for $4. I'm not allowed to tell you that. I swipe your card, it tells me to charge you $10. That's your copay. So I charge you a $10 copay. Me, the pharmacy, I don't get to keep that money. Who takes that money? The pharmacy benefit manager. They pull that money
I don't think that's true. I have Amazon Pharmacy and they give me the price with and without insurance. Sometimes
he's saying
Amazon
if you
shows
mention
me
it.
a price cheaper than what my insurance is charging. I live in the US.
Thank you for the bits, 50 squid. No, what he's saying is that if you say you have insurance, now he can't tell you that. Is that true? He can't like try to push selling you a cash sale. There are literally signs outside of. Doc says it's true. Doc also works in the medical industry. We can't push it on you, but we can tell you. Well, I mean, telling you from a sign is different than you go up to the person and hold on. Okay, Oka and 50. If you say to them, I have insurance, this is my insurance, can you as a pharmacy person tell them, I wouldn't use your insurance because I can sell it to you for cheaper with cash? Can you say that? Like in that exact situation, you can say that. Depends on the pharmacy's rules. It's a civil suit, not criminal. I see.
Out.
He's not lying. Okay, Rocket RoboBear says he's not lying. I had a prescription that was not covered by X amount. Pharmacy said it was $700. With the insurance at larger quantity was under $1. It's a breach of contract, basically.
To their holding company, and they get the additional $7.
Okay.
They short pay me. I don't even get what I would have made if I sold it to you for cash. They're an unnecessary middleman. And when they say they're negotiating down for the behalf of the people, that's just not true. So I'm going to methodically walk you through. What I like to tell people is the margins are made in the mystery. When people say, why is it so confusing? Why can't healthcare be more transparent? How do I not know what I'm going to pay? All of that bullshit is because of these insurance companies. It's because of United, Cigna, Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield. It is a system built to monopolize and profiteer off of your sickness. There's more money in you being sick than in you being well. And so most of the
tracks.
insurance companies' profits come from you being on prescription drugs. So they obstruct your ability to get surgery because that's a loss leader. They don't want you getting surgical procedures. They don't get a kickback on that.
Really?
They want you on medicine. There was an article 2 days ago. They're
Dude, that's so fucked up if that's true, dude.
finally talking about how much the big insurance companies were involved in the opioid crisis. Let's look at that. If you look at a product like an opioid, at a compounding pharmacy like mine, we had non-abusive, non-addictive pain creams. We could have prevented the opioid crisis by not prescribing an opioid in the first.
It was what do you call it? It started with an O. Was it OxyContin? Is that the one? That's the one, right?
But when the FDA
That fucked everyone
allows
over?
opioids to be rammed into the marketplace because the head of the FDA went to go work for Purdue Pharma 18 months later.
Yeah, that's the one. Purdue Pharma. They're the ones.
Giving them the goose that laid the golden egg, a label that says
because Oxy was like super fucking addictive, and they way more addictive than like other opioids that they had available. But it was like incredibly addictive, like despite being like about equivalent in efficacy. But they chose to use the more addictive one. Is that true?
these are non-addictive,
That's what the movie was about.
Non-abusive when they never had a human safety study on that. How? How can they do that? They daisy chain this drug into the marketplace. It's a lot to digest. So sorry, I'm trying to explain it. Very complex.
I don't know how I missed the fact that the head of the FDA went to work for Purdue
18
Pharma.
months later, took a big salary job, and
Dude, that's fucked up. Dude, they need to make it so that these like government people cannot do that shit. They cannot get an out and then like immediately like move into the industry, because that's a conflict of interest. They should not be able to do that.
I think in the last 40 years, only 2 heads of the FDA
dude,
they haven't gone to work for industry. Then go over to
Wait, so Purdue Pharma, to be clear, was basically just OxyContin.
OxyContin. Correct.
That was, I mean, they didn't
Correct.
have like an entire.
Correct. And what happened is what happened.
they were basically fucked. Like all of the drugs that they were making, they just suck ass. And then they were like, we need one that's like gonna, we need one that's gonna get us rich.
Often in big pharma, when they say pharmaceutical companies innovate and that's why they make all this money. Okay,
that's what I said.
United States
That's what I said too.
pays for makes up 60% of the pharmaceuticals industry's profitability, but we're ranked 40th overall in healthcare outcomes.
What the fuck?
We have a train wreck healthcare system. Again, 4 or more drugs the average American's on. The pharmaceutical companies are not fitting the bill for the research and development. We, the taxpayers, are, because we fund the NIH.
Dude, they did this to my brother. My brother and his mom didn't get along, and she would get mad at him. She's a little bit of a spicy individual, we'll just say. I wouldn't be surprised if she was, if they found out she was bipolar. I would not be surprised. But what happened was my brother went to the therapist for this, and the therapist told my brother, "You have PTSD. You have PTSD." PTSD. What the fuck? Like, bro.
And the NIH does most of the early product development. Then they sell the patent to the pharmaceutical companies for pennies on the dollar. Pharmaceutical companies pick them up and use their relationship and lobbying power with the FDA.
Does she beat them? I mean, not. I mean, Asian parents do hit their kids, but it's not like, I don't know. I think it's a completely different argument. It's not like is disciplining your kids through is that really like, I don't know if I'd put that in the same lines as like a person who's just abusive for their own personal satisfaction. I don't think you should. Yeah, don't hit your kids. I don't think you should. Probably. I have to think about it a little bit more. That's kind of a little bit more complex. She was a very spicy individual, I'll say. But I don't know if it's like PTSD level, you know, like, are we talking about like you getting fucking shot at in war, you got bombed? Like I don't know, man.
These products to market. Okay, so there's that. The other thing the pharmaceutical companies do that is not innovative and in a way to extend their revenue streams and maximize
They discipline you with the belt.
Profits is they refile patents by changing subtleties of molecules or delivery mechanisms, and they get additional patents that make it impossible for a competitor to come into the marketplace. That's exactly what happened with Purdue Pharma. Purdue Pharma's delivery mechanism, the cotton system, was going to expire. They were making millions, hundreds and hundreds of millions. They panic. They say, what do we do? They scramble to find a different
You can
opioid.
get PTSD from non-war related trial. Oh no, I definitely think so. But like, I feel like they and to be fair, I don't have any proof of this, but it seems to me that they're very generous in diagnosing people with stuff, especially mental stuff. It's like I said, like you're slightly weird. Well, you know, you're slightly weird. Well, okay. Here's like 3 things that you have. And then go take these pills. They'll calm you down.
That they could plug into the delivery mechanism. They found Oxy. But the problem with Oxy
Alka
is
says
it
that
is
DSM and psychology is a
8
huge
times
grift.
more addictive than hydrocodone. They
8
knew
times
this.
more?
They knew it. They knew it 100%.
8 times more addictive.
And they put it in the drug and they put it into the marketplace. And they met with the head of the FDA in a private hotel for weeks in advance. And they pushed it into the market, and the FDA gave them the golden goose. They put that this was less likely to be addictive.
Wait, what'd they do? They suck his dick or something? Like, what the FDA guy? Well, I think that was in the movie where the FDA guy, like, didn't want to do it. And, like, they were, like, pressuring him, like, constantly to do it. Leave this someone with a diagnosed PTSD. I can tell you it's almost impossible to get a diagnosis for it. And it's very, very possible to get it from familiar abuse. There's a difference between PTSD and complex PTSD. I see.
Or abused than other opioids, which was a bold-faced lie.
I guess I'm a little skeptical when, like, the way that people get diagnosed mental conditions nowadays, very skeptical how quickly they do it, I guess. That being said, like, obviously there are people that have PTSD. Obviously that exists.
And then that individual went to go work for Purdue Pharma 18 months later when they left the FDA.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. Without privacy, there is no freedom. Unfortunately, you don't have much privacy in this country today when you're online. The NSA is watching you. It buys your information from data brokers. It watches and analyzes
NSA is
everything you
watching
do
me?
online. It's a
Hi,
complete
NSA.
and utter
Fuck
invasion
you.
of your privacy and your sovereignty, but it's happening to you every time you go online. But there's a way to stop it. It's called ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that sends 100% of your online activity through secure encrypted servers. That means nobody...
Yo, everyone in chat, type 1. Let's get some 1s in chat. Let's get a 2 for all of my game lovers. Let's get a 2 if you're a game lover. Type a 2 if you're a gamer. If you're a gamer, type 2. No, if you're NSA, type 3.
can see anything you do online, including big tech companies and government agencies. Within just the last 12 months, ExpressVPN received over 400,000 data requests from tech companies and the government. But the company shared no customer information with anyone, zero. ExpressVPN can't share your data because they don't even own your data. They don't have it. So someday, government surveillance will become illegal again, but until then, protect yourself and your family with ExpressVPN. Right now, you get an extra 3 months off for free when you use our special link. Go to expressvpn.com/Tucker and get 3 extra months.
My mom gets so irritated at these VPN commercials because she says a lot of them are just fucking lying.
ExpressVPN.
And the same thing
Especially
happens
because, again, Purdue Pharma didn't make, lots of famous cancer drugs or antibiotics.
No.
It basically just made opioids.
Yeah. And before that, they created the
They like make it sound like it's super fucking crazy, but it's actually like it's not. You trust my mom on that one? Yeah.
volume crisis of the 60s, where they were
Like basically like they overhype the threat basically to like scare you.
advertising to women in the New York Post and New York Times.
I mean, no, we have a VPN, but it's like my mom says that the advertising is a little too clickbaity, basically.
Saying, feeling stressed, pop a Valium.
Yes.
And women got addicted to Valium all
Incredibly
over the
dangerous
country.
drug, yeah.
So Purdue Pharma has done this multiple times. And the final ramifications are so much more staggering because, again, who pays this? The taxpayers. But the real cost of all of this, and this is what I said to the Senate, we can ramble off numbers and dollars. Like I can tell you how the number one reason for bankruptcy in America is healthcare cost. I can tell you how the number one budgetary concern for the federal.
Well, yeah, because you can't do anything about it, right? Like if they're like, hey, you're gonna die unless you get this procedure, and it's gonna cost you your house. It's $500,000 for this procedure. What are you gonna say? Like, nah, I'm good, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you gonna do?
Government is our rising healthcare cost. And I could tell you how for employers, one of the biggest burdens is the insurance plans and covering their employees' healthcare costs. But the real costs are paid in human lives. People like my brother, who got addicted to opioids and lost his life because the system chewed him up and spit him out and let him down.
How did he get addicted to opioids?
He had an ACL surgery in high school, like so many kids, and the insurance companies are incentivized to prescribe opioids. That's the article that came out the other day, and that's what I'm trying to explain about the danger.
Dude, you guys want to know how hardcore I am? There was like one time I had surgery and I was in the hospital bed, and the nurse comes over and she's like, "Oh, we're gonna give you some morphine." And I looked at her and I said, "No morphine, no!" And she was like, "You don't want morphine?" I was like, "No morphine." And they're like, "But you're in pain. I got this." And like, I literally didn't do it. I literally didn't do it. I said, no, I got this.
These middlemen called the pharmacy benefit managers. They're not middlemen at all.
You fool. I mean, it's all good. It's all good.
They're profit centers for the big insurance companies. And so even on opioids,
it's like, I got this. I got anime. I got anime on my laptop. I got this.
Could have been prescribed a non-addictive, non-abusive pain cream after your surgery. It would have it's a topical that uses non-abusive, non-addictive ketamine, but
I really don't. I don't mind being like a little bit uncomfortable. If I have a headache, I'm not like, wow, my head hurts a little bit, I'm gonna go pop a fucking Advil. I'm not like that. It's more like when it's like it's debilitating, like it's affecting like my work, or like it hurts like really bad. It's like, oh man, like I just, oh fuck. Then like maybe I'll take a painkiller, but like if I have a little bit of a headache, I don't do it.
Topical form. You can't consume it. You can't eat it. You don't get high. There's no physiological high from it, but it works. It's very efficacious. Why would the insurance companies not prescribe that over a highly addictive, side effect riddled opioid? The answer is the insurance companies were getting rebates.
Well, the way I see it, guys, is this is the thing that they don't tell you, is that every drug has side effects. They all have side effects, a lot of the times negative ones. So it's kind of like, why would I want to take the debuff when I don't have to? Right? So it's like, does the buff I get from the drug outweigh the debuff? That's the calculation I'm making.
On these opioids. If you look this up, you can do the research. They made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars right beside Purdue Pharma, but they floated through all of it unscathed.
So how does the rebate work exactly?
So what happens is we'll go back to like a product. Well, here's another hot topic. Insulin will be a great example. Insulin's been out 40 years. Why is insulin 6 times more expensive than it was when it launched? The pharmaceutical companies are not making more than they did when they launched it. Eli Lilly's actually making less per vial than it ever made on insulin. Where is all that extra money going? That money is going to the pharmacy benefit manager. UnitedHealthcare owns Optum. Optum is a pharmacy benefit manager that negotiates rebates or kickbacks with the pharmaceutical companies. So when it came to opioids, they go to Purdue Pharma and they say, okay, Purdue, I'm just going to use simple math for my small brain. If it's $100 a month, they say, Purdue, we're going to, if Purdue wants to charge 50, they'll say charge 100 and give us a $50 rebate.
Melchior.
Okay. And so then United will show you the patient that your opioid cost them $100 that month, or whatever the prescription drug is. Prescription drug A cost them $100. They never paid the $100 because they got a $50 rebate.
What?
So they paid $50. What people don't realize is 80% of your health plan in America, 80% of Americans' health plan is covered by their employer. Most people are getting their health plan through their employer. So at the end of the year, these big insurance companies,
most people do that, yeah.
meet with your employer and say, Bobby Sue was on this opioid all year long. It cost us $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year. We've got to raise your copays, your deductibles.
Oh shit, but it doesn't actually cost that much. Oh shit, it doesn't actually cost that much because they rebate it after. Fucking bastards.
Deductibles
Dude,
and your
what the
out-of-pocket
fuck?
expenses because it's really running up our costs.
They're fucking lying.
But in reality, they never paid that.
Dickheads.
Then where this gets more sick and twisted is a lot of people don't understand this. Medicare and Medicaid after Obamacare has all been outsourced to the big insurance companies. So 60% of United's healthcare's profits are coming from Medicare and Medicaid. And how do they negotiate the Medicare and Medicaid prices? They negotiate it by looking at the average wholesale price in America.
That is true. Them having the covered healthcare makes it so you don't want to leave. The funny thing is, this is probably the biggest reason that people don't want to start their own businesses. It's fucking brilliant if you think about it in an evil way. It's kind of brilliant. They say like, hey, we'll pay for your healthcare and stuff like that, and you're like, oh fuck, but now it's like even like you don't want to leave because if you leave, like your new job might have different healthcare and it's a fucking pain in the ass to transfer everything over. Or it's like, oh well, if I leave and I start my own business, I do my own competition. Now I'm not getting my healthcare for free.
America and saying we want a discount. Well, that average wholesale price is a bullshit price because they set the market, but they didn't pay that price. Is this making sense at all? So just follow the dollars. Okay, $100 a month. They didn't pay the 100, they paid 50. They tell the employer they paid the 100. At the end of the year, that employer is going to get hit with the cost going into the following year. All of those copays, deductibles, all that goes up. Then you, the patient, get hit. And so when they decide what drugs to put on a formulary, what drugs they're going to cover, it has nothing to do with the efficacy and what is best for the patient. It has everything to do.
So that means they can force you to take a drug that's even worse for you. So that's not even like really competition if you think about it. Because if you have like drug A that is like better than drug B, but drug A makes less money because it's cheaper to make or it's not as addictive, they will still make you take the other drug.
With who gave them the biggest rebate. And they incentivize you to go to those drugs by lowering your copay and deductible on those drugs. So with opioids, they made it very easy to get an opioid because it was getting a rebate. But they made it very difficult to get a non-addictive product like a pain cream. And then eventually they just...
This is a spot I think we need more regulation. This is fucked up. It's either we need regulation to stop these people from doing this shit, or we need to remove regulation that allows them to do this shit. It's one or the other, right? I don't know what the regulations are, but it's possible that there are regulations in place that is making it impossible for anyone else to compete with them.
Said we won't cover pain creams at all. You're going to have to take an opioid. Then to go even deeper, that's just the prescription.
And this is what happened to your brother.
This is 100% what happened to my brother and what happened to millions and millions of Americans. And it's still happening to this day. And so I'll paint a picture for you. Imagine being a young kid with a spine issue and you're in pain. And this particular spine issue causes the sensation of burning and fire shooting into your hands, your feet, your extremities. And the worst of it all, a large percentage of these male patients with this spine issue experience burning and fire in their genitals. Fire and pain shooting into your genitals and
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds kind of metal.
Extremities.
Like a little bit.
In the insurance model with UnitedHealthcare, you're going to have to go to a primary care first. That's going to take 2 months to get in with that
Flame on!
primary care. You're dealing with this pain and suffering
Fucking
the
Human
whole time.
Torch.
Now, you get in with the primary care. They go, whoa, got 6 minutes with you. This is out
That's the jokes on them into that shit.
of my wheelhouse. I'm going
Dude, honestly, like jokes aside, that would fucking suck, honestly. Like, that would suck so bad.
to refer you to a specialist. You go to a specialist. That's going to take months. Oftentimes, you have to argue with the insurance. Deny, delay, depose. You're going to argue with that insurance company, begging them to allow you to go to a specialist. Your primary care may even
Well, yeah, it's in their best interest to not let you do that, and it's also in their best interest to to basically make it as pain in the ass as possible so that you will use it as a last resort.
Have to get on the phone and get a prior auth and negotiate it for you. Now you finally get in with a specialist. Specialist says, I want to order an MRI. A lot of times, the insurance companies will deny the MRI or delay it. So now you've got a battle for that. That's going to be another 3 or 4 months. The gist of it is the average spine patient takes 6 to 9 months before they ever really even get.
See, imagine if it was a system where like these fuckers didn't exist. They weren't. Imagine this, right? These guys didn't exist, and you had a system where doctors owned like their own practices again. It would just be competition. Like this doctor provides the best service, so you would go to them for an MRI, and you would just pay for it yourself. The cost would be less. I guess the negative, because there's always a negative to everything. The negative to this would be that you're a little bit less sure, because people in general are kind of bad preparing for the future. So it's like you might get hit with a bill, but but in total it'll be less. Like the total burden on society medically would be less, like in terms of like resources, because you don't have this middleman that's like sitting there like sucking up like half the money.
An answer, and then they've got to negotiate.
It
to
would
get
be
into
like
the
a true
surgery.
like a capitalism.
And now you
in that
finally get the day in the sun where you're finally feeling like you're going to get relief and you're going to get that surgery that you desperately needed. But the whole time they've been selling you opioids to keep your pain level down, because that's the only option.
It would be far more simple. It'd be like, well, I need an MRI done. Okay, well, I go to MRI place 1. I say, hey, like, can I get an MRI done? They're like, yeah, it's gonna cost this much money. Oh, it's a little bit too expensive. I'm going to the next person. You go to the next MRI place. Hey, I need to get an MRI done. Oh, we're busy. We've got like, it's gonna take like maybe like 5. It's gonna take like maybe a month to get it done. Okay, well then I guess it's more important for me that it gets done faster. So I go back to the first place and I'm like, all right, I'll get the MRI done. You get to like pick where you go. It's not like the insurance saying like, I don't know if you really need it. Let me think about it for a bit. Maybe you don't need it right now.
You have. So now you get your approval and you say, I found the best surgeon in the country. I want to go to this guy. That's not how it works. The insurance company tells you who you're.
Sorry. Another tangent. This literally happened to me one time where I went to the dentist, and so I was at the dentist, and it was like, oh yeah, like I need to get like my teeth cleaned and stuff. And I remember them saying like, oh, do you have like insurance? I was like, oh yeah. I forgot exactly what happened, but I remember I didn't have the specific thing covered. Like the amount that they charged me was like less than like the amount that they charge insurance companies is like more than like they would charge you directly because of like some roundabout shit. And I remember like just paying for it with cash. Like, oh yeah, if you pay with like just straight cash, like, we could just do that for like this, like whatever, fuck it, right? Yeah. And then I just paid straight cash, and then I got my stuff done, and it was fine.
To go see, and they say, yeah, he's not in our network. You've got to go to this other doctor. And then that doctor botches the surgery. It wasn't the surgeon you wanted. You waited 9 months to get this thing done, and that surgeon messes up your surgery. That's what happened to this kid, Luigi. Can you imagine how he could have lost his mind and gone crazy?
Yes.
And what's unfortunate is that's what's happening
100%.
to.
If you were that guy, you'd be fucking pissed. Again, I'm not saying that like what he did was a good thing. Like we can split those up, right? Like, let's not be like retarded here and say that murder is good. You can see how he got fucking pissed off, right? Like that makes so much sense to me.
Millions and millions of Americans every day.
It had to do with back surgery. I think he had like a back surgery.
Happened is terrible. It's tragic. Nobody has the right to play judge, jury, and executioner.
Yes.
But neither do the PBMs and the insurance companies.
100% agree. See, you can agree with both of those simultaneously. That like what the guy did, what these companies are doing is fucked up, and they need to get shitted on. But you can also agree that murder, like execution style murder, is bad. They're not mutually exclusive.
What they're doing every day. They are monetizing and printing money on the backs of Americans, monetizing our chronic disease and illness, making money off prescription drugs while denying surgeries, slow playing surgeries. And I mean, I could go on for hours because it just gets deeper and deeper. And I love to show people how, once I show people the magic trick, they will be able to see through the insurance's scam, because it's a scam. I mean, they're gangsters. Like, they're the mob.
How much did this play out during COVID? I mean, these systems affected how we responded to COVID, correct?
Succulent
Everything.
meal.
I mean, everything under the sun.
Succulent Chinese
Again, they decide
meal.
what gets covered, how it gets covered, what the reimbursement rate is, who gets in for surgery, when you get in for surgery. Then they can change the surgery. You know, the other thing is having owned labs and pharmacies and had all these touch points. I didn't know this. Like,
Wait, dude, I'd be surprised if nobody made a meme yet of Luigi and Dr. Mario. I would be if like the internet hasn't created AI art of that meme.
I was naive like everybody else. You know, I just thought you pay your hard-earned money, and when things go south, the insurance has got your back. Like, that's literally how naive I was. That's what I thought. But what you learned is HMOs are not health insurance. They are managed care. And what do I mean by that? You've got to think of it like, the analogy I use is think of car insurance. It's there if you wreck the fucking car.
Exactly.
And that's all it's good for.
insurance.
But they're not going to rotate the tires, change the oil, maintain the vehicle.
Right. Yep.
If you put your life and your family's life in the hands of these insurance companies.
Yeah, that doesn't make any fucking sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why don't we have a system where like maybe you can get insurance for like more major stuff, but then like your everyday stuff is not taken care of by these people? That makes sense. What he said there is that like you pay for car insurance if the shit happens, not for the everyday maintenance of your car.
They are going to monetize your chronic disease. And I say it, if you see the average American doctor and you eat the average American diet, then don't be surprised when you die of the average American chronic disease.
So I think what's changed, and this is maybe something that it's taken me a while to figure out, maybe until right now, because I do think of health insurance that way, just as I think of collision insurance or fire insurance. You know, had a fire, used insurance, worked great, that's it. But the addition of chronic disease to America, where like, you know, the majority of the population has a chronic disease, that means that it's not catastrophic coverage, it's a maintenance program that you're paying for.
Correct.
When I was a kid, I thought that chronic disease was marijuana, that you smoked marijuana, so you had chronic disease. I thought that when I was a little kid.
Okay.
And the challenge is every safety net throughout the system has been captured. And that's why
It's because I listened to Dr. Dre when I was a kid.
I think the corporate capture narrative is so important, and that's what I was trying to get through to the Senate. Everyone talks about the speech that Eisenhower gave about the military-industrial complex. People forget there was a second half to that speech. It's very rare. Bobby Kennedy is actually the only person I've ever heard talk about it, and I was so excited when I heard him talk about it. Finally. And the second half was, if we allow corporate interests to capture our scientific community, then what we will find is we will lose the garage tinkerer. We will lose the innovator. We will stifle and suppress innovation, and everything will turn to basically profits and a profit-driven system. Show me the incentives, and I'll show you the...
Yeah, I know. But I was talking about doctors, as in like a doctor, like a medical doctor.
Outcomes. We have built a system based on quarterly profits and quarterly earnings throughout the system, whether we're talking about the pharmaceutical industry, the big health insurance companies, the hospital systems, the doctors' practices. Everyone is built into this ecosystem that is attempting to capture human lives and monetize those touch points. So everything that you do is a revenue generator for all of these various entities. And there's so much money being made off chronic disease. There's no interest in curing chronic disease. And so the National Institute for Health, like I said earlier, they are the seed essentially that grows into the tree, and they're the ones doing most of the innovation and early development of drugs, but they're doing it oftentimes through incentives that incentivize them to look at treatments rather than cures. And so the problem is we're just launching Band-Aids into the marketplace rather than healing the wound. And in medicine, we say if you're to treat chronic disease, you have to uncover the root cause. And I'm telling you, the root cause runs deep. And it's insidious and it's dark. And it has captured our entire healthcare ecosystem front to back, from the food we eat to the way we grow our food to the way we process our food.
Like all the
big tobacco.
The food stuff is all fucked up too. Like the fucking scam of like the food pyramid and everything. It's such a mess. Stop eating eggs. Stop eating like pork fat. Like have some have some trans fats. God.
Captured most of the food industry in the 80s. They literally owned the food industry and brought their marketing campaigns and strategies to the food industry, where they made food more addictive, more processed, and more chemically laden. And so throughout that process, now you are eating the wrong foods and you're getting chronically ill at a disproportionate rate. The preventative care was the way to prevent that. And now those doctors are out of that ecosystem. So now you're essentially getting pushed into chronic disease, where then the insurance companies monopolize and profiteer off of it for years.
Damn, they're sucking each other off.
And then your employer and the American people and the taxpayers are who are really fitting the bill for all of this.
Rappel says pork fat is actually bad. Is it worse for you than lard worse for you than trans fat though? Hey, what's up, Shago? There's no way that can be true. Or seed oils. Yeah, I read that like that sugar is the next bad one. That like trans fats were like the turbo evil, and then like, dude, do people ate that shit? Do you guys remember that? Like, stop eating butter, it's so bad for you. Have some margarine. You guys remember that fucking shit?
How aware do you think health insurers are of the system that they preside over? Like, do they understand what's happening?
Absolutely. They know, they are knowing and willingly active participants. They know. I mean, UnitedHealthcare implemented an AI algorithm that rejected 90% of claims.
They're using fucking AI to reject people? Oh my God.
90% of Medicare claims for surgeries were getting rejected inaccurately, right? Which drove up their profits. They're having double-digit profit growth right now. Asked about how profitable they are. For the last like 5 years, they've doubled their stock price. So you also got to not just think about monthly, like it's revenue and profits, but it's also what is your shareholder return on investment and what are your stocks doing? And if we look at that, guess who owns the majority of the big 5 insurance companies? It's BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street.
Dude, BlackRock fucks everything up. BlackRock fucks everything up. What the fuck?
Guess who owns the majority of the pharmaceutical companies?
The
BlackRock,
classics, I know.
Vanguard, State Street. Guess who owns the majority of the media outlets? It's BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street.
Yes.
Do you start to sense a trend here?
I do.
And guess who funds and lobbies more than anybody? The pharmaceutical industry, followed by, one of the top players is the health insurance industry. And then you've got these big conglomerates that are funding all of this. So there's so many levers we can pull to generate revenue off of these individuals that it's staggering. Yeah. And so they absolutely know, and it makes it very, very hard. There's no alternative. Like if I'm a hospital, I can't afford to lose Blue Cross Blue Shield. I can't afford to lose UnitedHealthcare. I'm out of business. Like in the state of Texas, Blue Cross Blue Shield is 30% of your revenue. So I'll tell you in a real world example, I owned a pharmacy, and I still do own pharmacies, but I don't take insurance. Like our model now is we refuse to take insurance because if I don't take insurance, I can tell the patient the real price. I can get rid of all the games, all the fuzzy numbers, and I can just...
Yeah, and then you know what they're going to do next? They're going to refuse to sell to him, the drug companies. They're going to refuse to sell to him because it's going to give up the fucking sham, right?
Say, hey, it cost me this. I'm going to sell it to you for that. I'm going to mail it to your doorstep. It's that simple.
It's so, why aren't there more pharmacies like that?
They're springing up. They are coming up. And I think it's taking the American people. So many people think, well, my insurance should cover it. And I try to explain, they're going to cover it, but there's a price to pay. And that price to pay is way more than dollars. They are going to make you chronically ill and make money off you. And oftentimes you're spending more than you would to just pay cash for the compound. Like here's an example. I also owned labs, and I owned a blood lab, and I went out and I educated clinicians in the state of Texas on the importance of preventative care. My elevator pitch was the 5 chronic diseases that are killing so many Americans. How do we stop them? We don't let them develop in the first place. And how do we do that? We do that through getting proactive and predictive. And how do we do that? We do that by taking a look under the hood. Do you just go out and romp on a car without changing the oil or maintaining it? No, you take care of the vehicle.
Right.
We have to take care of our bodies. And the only way to do that is to do the deep dive annually and to understand.
Parasocial Chat says, I have to exercise and diet. I heard just walking for 30 minutes is like pretty good already. Am I wrong about that? I heard that that's like gets you a lot of the way there. Obviously, it's like better to like do a little bit more exercise, but 30 minutes of walking is like significantly better than like 0 of anything.
A basic checkup in America is a lipid panel. They're looking at like 4 or 5 things. They're looking at nothing. You can't get anything out of that. Like to do a deep dive, you look at over 70 biomarkers. Now I'm looking at your blood work and I can tell, like I said earlier, are you headed towards diabetes? And if you are, we can intervene. We can act now before you become diabetic. But what the insurance model does is they wait for you to become diabetic. It costs 6-fold to keep you alive.
I heard, okay, guys, I don't know if this is true. This is what I heard from like medical people, like from videos I was watching, like several like doctors said this, that diabetes is reversible, but then they bait everyone into thinking that it's not. Is that true? That's what I heard. Is that it's like 100% curable, but then they just say it's not, just to fuck with you. For type 2, yeah, obviously.
Every year, once you're diabetic, because they're getting paid off the insulin, there's an incentive for them to let you become diabetic.
It's
You
Need a fact check, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it'd be hard to find it, but let's see. I've seen people say this that were experts on the topic, that the issue is that you don't give your is it pancreas that gives you the insulin, that you don't give it a break basically to catch up. Type 1 isn't. Type 1 is when it doesn't make insulin at all, right? And then the other type 2 is resistance, right? Yeah.
You the incentives, I'll show you the outcomes. We've got to pivot this and shift this. So I would educate doctors on the importance of blood work. And I would tell them, let's get proactive and predictive and let's prevent chronic disease. Doctors start implementing this in their practice. Within months, clinicians, all of them, got letters from the insurance companies. Hey, Dr. So-and-so, we noticed you're pulling a lot of blood work. We don't like this. We don't think there's medical necessity here. Hold on now. Where did you go to fucking med school?
I didn't see that, Tiger.
2, who are you to tell a clinician what they do with a patient life? 3, that patient paid you their hard-earned money for the right and accessibility to care. You're doing this purely out of evil necessity for profit and greed. That's all this is. There's no reason not to get a comprehensive blood panel at least a year, right, to be able to do a deep dive. So clinicians stop pulling the blood work. That's throughout the United States. Doctors are terrified. They are not going to fight the insurance companies because the insurance companies control everything. And so when we talk about corporate capture, you've got the big pharmaceutical companies that have captured the FDA. You've got the big insurance companies that have captured and colluded with FBI and DOJ, which I'll get into here in a second. They've also captured our hospital systems and our clinicians. There are no private primary care practices anymore because insurance cut their reimbursements, forced them to go work as employees of the hospital. Now they've funneled all of the sheep into one location so the wolves can pick them off. And now these doctors are basically fall in line or lose your job. And so doctors fall in line.
There are no independent primary care.
There's very few independent primary cares that are in an insurance model anymore. Most of those have gone to work for huge HMOs and like Blue Cross Blue Shield bought Kelsey Siebel, I believe, so the other thing they're doing is they're vertically integrating and capturing our systems. So like where I was going earlier with the blood work is they basically deny the blood work, bully the clinician to not pull the blood work. So then the doctors don't ever do the deep dive. So they can't prevent the chronic disease. So now you are headed towards chronic disease because they don't have the ability to help you prevent it. And so that's just one sliver. Then the other end is, as a pharmacy owner, I would bill and collect and I would ship out hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in medications a month. Crucial life-saving medications for patients. Blue Cross Blue Shield, true story, said, they quit paying me. And I shipped out, I think, over $1 million in prescription medications in a month in the state of Texas. You go to negotiate, say, hey, what happened? You guys didn't pay me this month. I have $1 million that I've shipped to your patients. Yeah, we don't think you collected copays and deductibles. Okay, well, we did. We collected 98%. Okay, well, we'll come audit you. Okay, how soon can you be here? 3 months. I can't ship out $3 million in drugs and float you guys. I'm not a bank. They do that throughout the industry. The hospitals are floating the bills. It's 90 days on average to get reimbursed, anywhere from 60 to 90 days to get reimbursed on a surgical procedure. Then when patients say, why do I have such a big copay? It's another method to discourage you from having surgery and to force you back to the drugs that they're making money on.
Interesting. So I mean, doctors were associated with surgery. That's what they're called, sawbones. Mm-hmm. Psychiatrists were, talkers. let's talk about your mother. The whole system.
That sounds like a fucking threat. Let's talk about your mother.
Every part of medicine seems
It's like a fucking
totally
threat.
focused on drugs now.
What are you going to do?
Now, there's still a lot of money in surgery. It is a loss leader for these insurance conglomerates. And so they put obstructions between you: deny, delay, depose, right? So they delay your ability to get the care. They make you jump through all these hurdles before you finally get approval. UnitedHealthcare denied over 30%, 1/3 of claims. And actually 2 years ago, they denied 37% of claims. 37%. That's not 1/3. That's almost half. Like, let's be honest. And all the meanwhile, and what that means is people
Well, I don't know if 4% is really
are dying.
almost half.
It doesn't mean like, oh, shucks, these aren't aesthetic procedures. These are life-changing procedures that people are desperate for, that they paid for, and you're denying them. And do you know what percentage of people fight the claim? 10%. 10%. People are tired.
How do you fight a claim?
You have to go to your doctor and
Yeah, and then you have to fucking call them, and then you're like, can I talk to a person about this? Okay. Thank you for calling insurance. Thank you for calling Leaflit Insurance. Press 1 to speak to a what is it? Press 1 to speak to a representative. Something habla español. Press 2. And then you press it, and it's like, would you like to speak to a person in this department? It's like as slow as fucking possible. And you finally get there, and they're like, we are currently experiencing and over too many customers. Please hold on the line. And it's like fucking 45 minutes, bro. 45 minutes. And you pick it up and they're like, hello, thank you for talking to Leaflit Insurance. My name is Shirley. Can I get your account number? And then you get it, and you're like, yeah, I have this problem with this claim. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to forward that to a manager. Can I please put you on hold? 30 minutes later, another 30 minutes later, and then you get to the manager. Hi, I'm the manager. Can I? What would you like? Yeah, I wanna dispute this claim. Oh, okay. You're gonna have to call this person, and then you do it all over again.
And write letters and push back and go get second opinions and take time off from your busy job to go try and battle an insurance company. And then even if you get the procedure approved and everything's hunky-dory.
And then you call the next person, and the next person goes, well, let me forward you to this person. Let me forward you to the other number. Like, this is the wrong number. You're going to want to call this number. You're like, wait a minute, I just called that number. Oh, yeah, I know, but this is the wrong number.
And you go have the surgery, they're going to tell you who to go to, where to go, and then they're going to take 90 days to pay the hospital back or the surgery center back. And that surgery center holds the bill. But here's where it gets even more fucked up. They set the copays and deductibles. Sorry, am I allowed to cuss? I didn't even ask you
course,
that.
yeah.
Okay. They set the copays and deductibles. And so oftentimes your employer offers you 10 different plans. Like, I employ 300 plus people. And so I let my employees choose the plan. They have an option between like 10 different plans. My young people will usually choose a plan that has a bigger out-of-pocket expense.
For sure.
Maybe a $10,000 deductible.
My last job dealt with processing their paperwork, and the way people kept bouncing between specialists, and time spent waiting, not good. I feel like that's universal, though. Isn't it, Shy? I don't know.
On a surgery. The way they word the insurance contracts is they make you the hospital or me the lab. Like when I had a genetics lab, there were times I had to go after the patient for a $5,000 deductible, right? I don't want to. It's not what I don't want to play, collection agent on a patient. But the way they word the contract is, if I didn't collect the copay or deductible, they have recourse. They can deny the claim and never pay me for the procedure, the
Holy
surgery, or
shit.
the lab screening that I did. And so I have to show a reasonable effort to collect. And if I don't, they can do an array of things. They can deny the claim. They could come back and say, we're going to do an audit. This is where we get into depose, right? Deny, delay, depose. The depose of the situation is, let's say I did that spine procedure, and let's say this kid's out-of-pocket expense on it was $10,000 and he doesn't have the money. Well, I'm required by law to go after him and make a reasonable effort to collect. But in the fine print of my contract with UnitedHealthcare, they're going to say, if they uncover that I didn't collect the copay or deductible, they can deny the claim and never pay me for the surgery. And so I have to chase it. So then now you get into
they basically do it this way so that they put all the responsibility on the other party.
With United, or like I did with Blue Cross Blue Shield, where they just don't pay me. If I sue them, they're going to depose. They're going to dig into every time I didn't collect a copay or deductible, and they're going to argue that they have a contractual ground to stand on that they don't owe me the money. It's almost like a lie agreed upon. They're not. They wait until the deficit gets big.
That's not how deductibles work, Oka.
And they put you out of business. And then what happens? It's tough out there for a small privately held farm.
So wait, so this guy would know because he works in the industry. Are you saying he's just lying, or is it just different? Maybe it's like I'm trying to find like what's going on here. Like, is he? Because you're saying that what he's saying isn't true, but like he's clearly like worked in the industry for like a long time. Partially as a sensationalist. How so?
We're actually buying pharmacies right now. Would you like to sell to us? So Aetna owns, or CVS Health owns Aetna. CVS Health owns CVS Pharmacies. CVS Health, the PBM. All of that's vertically integrated. They set the price point. They set the copay. They set the reimbursement. They set the deductible. They also own mail pharmacies, like mail order pharmacies, and they will tell patients, oh, we can get you this drug cheaper if you'll go to our mail pharmacy, in an effort to cannibalize and
They have basically like they have taken over the entire system, like top down.
monopolize that patient life so nobody else has access to them. And so they can't see behind the curtain to find out that they're really getting screwed, that they never should have been paying that price point on the drug in the first place. And so like one of the things we're doing at my pharmacy is we disclose pricing. Like you could search.
Deductibles is insurance saying that we'll pay X. I thought that's how it worked, the way that you're saying it.
And find out what the real wholesale price is on any drug and research that. And to show a real world example of how dirty this is, Tucker. And if any of it's too much, let me know. I can tailor this to whatever.
No,
makes
it's
sense, because it's a
fascinating.
lot. Okay, the state of Ohio launched an investigation, hired 32 forensic auditors. Just the state of Ohio, just Medicare. Just Medicaid, sorry. Guess what they found? $230 million in fraud from the insurance companies in 1 year. Gap pricing, what they're calling gap pricing, the whole Ponzi scheme I just explained. They are telling the state, this drug cost us $200, you owe us $200. But the state pays them the $200, they only paid $100. So they made $100 every time that script got written. The state realized that they could negotiate directly with the pharmaceutical companies and get better pricing. So the state of Ohio is saving hundreds of millions of dollars. Now multiply that times all 50 states. Mm-hmm. Now multiply that times all the federal payers, because Medicaid is just the state. The Medicare program covers the whole freaking country.
Yes.
60% of the profits of these insurance companies is coming from the taxpayers. So we're getting killed paying taxes to give these guys all this money at the government level, but then we're getting killed on our company insurance plans. And then as a business owner, I'm getting killed because at the end of the year, they renegotiate the rates and they charge me more, right? I'm paying half of the care of my employees, my 300 something employees.
I think the main problem here is that there is kind of a lack of ability to negotiate, because you can't, it's, again, it's like I said, like when it comes to like health, you can't just say no. It makes the subject a lot more difficult.
And everything that costs that insurance money, they've taken a 30% markup on. That's why we're facing this mega healthcare expenditure issue in America. It's not just the pharmaceutical industries. It's the collusion and the capture of all of them working together to essentially screw all of us. The doctors are making less and less to do more and more. In fact,
That's kind of crazy though, because medicine is, at the core of medicine is a doctor, right?
100%. And we are facing a crisis with that. We have a booming aging population. We have a primary care shortage in America. That's why it takes 3 to 6 months to get in with primary care.
Yeah, we should. Patchouli, you're right.
80% of primary cares in an interview, I think it was done by Harvard, said they will not be in this profession within 36 months. They don't want to do it anymore. It is a beatdown. These poor people are working their asses off, but they're in a system that ties their hands up.
The people getting rich are the parasites, right? They're not providing any actual service.
Correct. And then in certain states, clinicians have the right to earn into and make profit off of things. And so because the insurance companies have gotten so dirty and have cut the reimbursement rates for clinicians are now looking for ways to make money. And so oftentimes when I say corporate capture again, it's the word of the day, But when I say it, either it's one of two things. Either your doctor is an employee of the hospital and works for the hospital, which is directly controlled by the insurance company. And so they're essentially an employee of the insurance company. Your clinician owns the hospital or surgery center, and then they dictate to the hospital and surgery center the protocols and procedures. And in those instances, they're oftentimes having to bill out of network, which is a whole nother racket, because when you bill out of network, you get paid a third of billed charges. So that's why when people go, what the hell? My MRI was $6,000. It's because they know that they're only going to get paid a third of what they bill United or Cigna. And so they have to inflate their bill by threefold. But the insurance company sets you up for failure by saying you have to go after the patient for any short pay. So this is where people get into these medical, bankruptcy issues. If I go to UnitedHealthcare when I owned a blood lab and I said, United, I want to be in network, their answer is fuck off. We don't want you in network. We don't need you. We've got blood labs that we have browbeat for 20 years and we've got them negotiated down to a dirt cheap price. We don't want another in-network lab. So I either lay everybody off and go out of business, go to a cash model, which is what I do now, or you do what's called billing out of network. And if I were to, I'm going to use blood as an example. If I were to bill the panel we run at Ways to Well, if you were to walk into a Quest, and it's happened because I've had UFC.
That's the biggest, right?
Yeah, I've had UFC fighters that are our clients and stuff walk into Quest and they give them an insurance card and they quote them $3,000 for our blood panel. And they'll call me and go, oh my God, dude, they're quoting me. I'm like, no. Give them our code. That it's a $300 deal and they bill me, they don't bill you. Like, I got it. And they're like, well, how can it be $300 when they're charging $3,000? And so it's because once you've billed a panel at a rate, by law in the contract, you have to bill the patient for that rate. And so if I take insurance at a blood lab and I'm out of network and I bill the insurance $300, they're going to pay me $100. I can't I'll lose money. I lose $200.
Yeah.
So I have to bill them $900 to get paid $300. Does that make sense?
What the fuck?
And then in the instance that the insurance...
Hold on. They're doing this to like ultra inflate like the amount of money that they're doing this to ultra inflate the amount of money that they pay out so that they can increase your rates. Dude, that's fucked up.
One of the deny depose, if they deny, I am in my contract required by law to go.
It's like, yeah, it's gonna cost $300 to get the thing done. It's like, oh, you mean 900? No, 300. But what if we just give you, what if it's like we just say it's 900, and then like we can say that it was a lot of money.
Go after you for the additional money. I have to chase
the patient.
Yes, I have to chase you down. But I never wanted $900. All I wanted was the $300 you owed me in the first place. But I can't get that.
And then they're pocketing the fucking rest?
Because you won't give me a contract. And that's what's happening with surgery centers, MRI centers, hospitals. There's in-network and there's out-of-network. You, the patient, oftentimes pay for out-of-network benefits and coverage. And then the insurance company tries to deny it and make it impossible for you to get that. And oftentimes clinicians are out of network. Like the biggest, baddest.
This is what I'm saying. I don't think that socialized healthcare is the answer. And I'm not saying that. Like I still think that there is a way to do like a capitalistic system, but I think this is not it.
Brightest minds for orthopedic surgery in the state of Texas argue
you're not allowed to collect that $600. This part is illegal.
Is University of Texas, UT Medical School. UT Medical School is kicked off of Optum and
Well, the problem is that the issues with the socialistic healthcare model, I think, are just as bad. Like, I think they're just as bad. I think, all you have to do is look at like what's going on in Canada to understand that it's bad. Like the rationing and the why don't you go kill yourself? Like it's awful,
UnitedHealthcare's plan. So if let's say you blow an ACL, the Texans, Rockets, Astros team doctors, all those guys for the most part are either at Methodist or UT. You can't get to those guys.
This is a giant example of crony capitalism. Yeah, it is. It really is. This is terrible. And we definitely need to get get on top of this shit.
If you have an out-of-network plan, you can use it and pay a bigger copay or deductible to get to go see those guys. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But they have to bill them out of network and they'll get paid a percentage of the billed charges.
The cash model that you operate under, is that the future?
I think what I tell people is the same way these insurance companies are using AI algorithms to deny coverage, they are going to use large language models and AI to obstruct your ability to get care. the last person in the world you want digging through your
America
underwear
pays for
drawer
Israel's entire healthcare system. Wait, what? What do you mean?
is the federal government. But the second is
If that's true, I'm against that. I
the
don't know
insurance
if that's
companies.
true.
Yes.
You don't want them to know your blood work unless you need a procedure or something that's coming up that's catastrophic, because they're going to use it and use AI to screen you out of their system. And if they think you're headed towards a catastrophic event like a heart attack or surgery or cancer, they're going to want to get you out of there before that manifests. And the average
That's so fucked up, dude. That is so fucked up.
person is employed or his insurance comes from there.
That they're using like algorithms to like diagnose that like you possibly will have this, and then they use it to kick you out.
Employer. And so
But
if I'm
that's
a
true.
CEO at United and I know you're headed towards, something catastrophic, I can delay your ability to uncover that through putting these obstructions on things that don't make me money.
Come on. You think they
And
would do
you
that?
have, absolutely. Absolutely. Like diabetes is a prime example.
Wait, hold on. You're saying that health insurance companies would intentionally keep people from knowing about a catastrophic illness?
That's why they don't allow you to get comprehensive blood work. That's why they delayed women's care. Like the OB-GYN initiatives were saying that we should be screening for certain genetic disorders in your 20s. And the insurance company said, no, we think that number should be 35. And all the clinicians go, okay, the number's 35. And so now women don't get that screening to see if their child's going to have a genetic issue unless they're over the age of 35. Hundreds of examples of this. So I think what happens is I'm an executive at United. The whole system's built for quarterly earnings, quarterly profits.
Not gonna lie, that's a Rainbow says that AI should be put in the shredder. I don't think this is an issue of AI. This is an issue of abuse.
Hit that number for Wall Street. Let's just say I'm managing 100,000 patient lives. Every day, month, week, I can delay those individuals is another day, week, and month that I don't spend money on a surgery. And if I deny those surgeries and only 10% of them come back and fight me on it, step one is to deny. Delay. Step two, deny. I've obstructed your ability to get to that. And an example would be a chronic disease like...
I'm sorry, I'm just fixated here. And to note the obvious, so what you're saying is that they don't want you to know that you could develop a life-threatening illness.
They don't want to treat preventative. And so anything preventative is proactive.
But
and so
pancreatic cancer, for example, has a survival rate that's in the single digits. But if caught early, it is survivable. And there are many other examples.
So here's an example. They will say these things are expensive. So the screening tools we use in healthcare are dated. This is why we have moved to a cash pay. At our clinic, Ways to Well, like we've become a big name because of Joe. Like we helped Joe, we helped Aaron Rodgers. We're in the Aaron Rodgers documentary. But everything we do pretty much is not covered by insurance.
Is this guy Joe Rogan's doctor?
Almost everything we do wouldn't be covered by insurance anyway. And it's not that it's crazy expensive. It's that it's just not part of their ecosystem. Our job is not to push drugs. Our job is to have an intelligent conversation with patients, to do the deep dive, to uncover the root cause, and to explain to the patient what is happening with their body and why, and to give you, the patient, sovereignty and autonomy over your health. And so an example would be a cancer screening. At our company, our cancer screening looks at you at the cellular level and can diagnose over 200 different types of cancer at stage 0. 99% survival rate at stage 0. We know that a large majority of firefighters and first responders will develop cancer in their lifetime. At a minimal, why would we not be pre-screening all of our... Because they're exposed to toxins, chemicals, fires, smoke inhalation. A lot of our military personnel have been exposed to, Agent Orange and all these different, compounds in the battlefield. They disproportionately have a higher cancer rate. And we could be screening those individuals with real-world science and preventing, but we don't. There's a lot of money made in chemo.
If this is true, that's so fucked up.
Did you know that the majority of an oncologist's income comes from marking up the medication itself? The chemotherapy itself is a profit center for the clinician that prescribes the chemotherapy. And so
that would suggest that if chemotherapy is a profit center, then I would assume it's overused.
Well, that's what you're going to see with everything. GLP-1s, the weight loss drugs.
I believe
it's become a frontline defense. And I have a different, I'm buddies with Callie, I'm buddies with Joe, I'm buddies with Jillian Michaels. They hate Ozempic. My thing about it is, I don't hate it. I'm pragmatic. It's a tool in the tool belt. And when utilized appropriately, it can change and save lives.
Yes.
But it is not a first-line defense.
Yes.
And it should not be used in children. And prescribing Ozempic
That sounds sensible.
Yeah, prescribing Ozempic without first talking about diet, lifestyle, and nutrition is like brushing your teeth while eating fucking Oreos. It's delusional.
Wait, you can't
And
do that?
That's what we're trying to do. And you go, well, wait, why? I told you why.
I've been brushing my teeth wrong this whole time.
They're printing fucking money off these medicines. The insurance company loves Ozempic. The pharmaceutical industry loves Ozempic. Is there a big benefit to it? Absolutely. It can help reduce the risk of chronic disease because the number one risk for almost all of these chronic diseases is metabolic disease and obesity.
Yes.
And we are chronically ill and obese as a society. And so if we can get that weight off, great. But if we don't talk about diet, lifestyle, and nutrition, we're just putting a Band-Aid on it. We got to get to the root cause. And then if we're not going to address the food issue and we're not going to fix our food issue, it isn't a matter of people eating bad or good. Like it clearly is. Like diet is very, very important. It's the most important thing. But I want to be clear. Even if you try to eat healthy in America, it's hard. We have over, and I think it was the 80s, we had 700 FDA approved ingredients in our food.
I remember when you, in Japan, the availability of healthy food is crazy. And it's when I say healthy food, it doesn't taste like shit. It's not like salads, available, you can get much healthier stuff at 7-Eleven or even a fast food place in Japan. Then you can get it. The availability of food that's even remotely healthy and the fast food is there's not that many. The irony is probably Popeyes is probably the best one.
Now
Eat some fucking Popeyes fried in tallow. It's mostly protein. You just don't eat fries. Just don't eat fries and don't have a Coke with it. And
over 10,000 ingredients. In Europe, it's 700. There's over 10 petrochemicals, everything in our food sources, preservatives, food dyes, all of it. And they're all causing an increase in metabolic disease and these problems. They're making our food more processed, more addictive, more abusive. And then we're getting chronically ill and chronically obese. And then that leads to being chronically on medications.
Yes.
And then that leads to trillions of dollars. When we talk about big pharma, the insurance companies made $1.5 trillion last year. Trillion. Pharma is still in the billions. I think it was 600 or 700 billion, which is still an insane amount of money in revenue. But the insurance companies are 2.5 the size of
and
big
at least
pharma.
the pharma companies make something.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. They may not
some
have enough
innovation.
R&D and they make, addictive drugs and that's all bad, but they do make things.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, but I just want to clear this up. Do you think it's possible, it sounds likely maybe that chemotherapy is overprescribed?
I think every drug on the market is probably overprescribed. Antidepressants. I mean, why are we prescribing there is a place for every compound. I don't want to paint something that's all bad.
Yeah.
The amount of people be on antidepressants.
It's really simple. As a non-physician, non-college graduate, let me just say, if the suicide rate goes up, they're not working.
Yeah.
And the suicide rate has gone up. So there's kind of no
Gone through the
getting
roof.
around that. That's just very simple.
And
measure.
there are alternatives to that. Again, at our practice, we have a product called Wave Neuroscience. We scan your brain. We assess.
Brooke says, what does it say about doctors though? If most of them remain silent about this and don't attempt to change it? Well, I mean, you can think of it this way: that what if a doctor? I mean, what if that was all you knew about it? If this is the system that you were trained into, and this is the only system that you think could exist, you can say that about every industry, basically.
Yes, where neurons are misfiring.
Yes, you are also in debt. True.
Not covered by insurance, but it has an astronomically higher success rate and over 80% at helping depression, anxiety, and insomnia. It's not covered by any insurance company because they force you back to SSRIs, and you have to fail 2 or more SSRIs to get treatment. But why, Tucker?
Which is more
much are they making?
effective for rescuing people from despair and suicide? Taking SSRIs or getting a dog.
Yeah.
Super simple.
Exactly.
No, I'm
100%.
It's provable.
Yes,
right.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
No,
Getting a dog?
It's a national tragedy.
I guess loneliness.
A lot.
I just know from years of, covering mass shootings on television, if you ask the question, was the shooter on SSRIs? You get shouted down immediately. You get called into the office. Ooh,
Wait, what is that?
theory.
Hold on, wait.
What's the answer then?
What is that? Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Prozac, Cipramil, Cipralex, paroxetine, Seroxat, Lustrol. SSRIs are often the first choice for treating depression because they generally have fewer side effects than other antidepressants.
Yep.
And the answer is all of them are. Right?
Yeah.
So
Joe had a quote. Rogan had a quote. We don't have a gun problem. We have a mental health problem disguised as a gun problem.
yeah, well, we have a drug problem that's causing a mental health problem, in my opinion.
Yep.
But yes, no, people, I don't even take Advil. I feel great. So that's my feeling on it.
Yeah.
Damn, me too.
Sorry, I know you own a pharmacy.
Me
but I
too.
just
Me
go-
too,
No, and
Tucker.
my thing is medications should not be the solution.
No.
They're the last option on the table.
Yeah.
We first have to take the time to deep dive and understand. And when you say walk me through a patient life, a 40-year-old woman comes into a clinic. She's tired. She's exhausted. She's raising a family. She's working a job.
I only take medicine if I feel like I'm in absolute debilitating agony.
She's trying to be superwoman, be everything to everyone.
That's right.
She goes in there, she's gained weight, she's tired, exhausted, doesn't sleep well, riddled with anxiety and stress. She's going to leave there on 4 or more prescription medicines.
That's totally right.
Because that's how the system was built. But if you were to come into a practice that is proactive, predictive, and preventative, that is truly trying to help you, you're going to spend an hour with that clinician. We're going to do a deep dive. We're going to look at your blood work, your biomarkers, your hormones. We're going to do an EEG to assess your brain health, your neurons. Is there anything going on here that's causing the noise, the static, the stress, the anxiety? We're going to talk to you about magnesium and supplements that maybe you're deficient in your diet because our food sources are crap now. And we're going to help dial all those things in. I can't tell you how many patients just through supplementing products like magnesium and zinc. We're all chronically deficient on so many minerals. It's not about a drug. Like magnesium, zinc, sunlight, and sodium can
What? Sunlight?
probably solve a huge amount of our anxiety in this country.
Totally believe that. But I also think that
And
they're
nature.
big. Well, that is absolutely
But doesn't the sun also cause cancer?
true. And
I don't like the sun.
but there are structural problems too. If you're a mother of a bunch of small kids and you have to work to support your family, there's something wrong with our economy. I mean, that's totally unnatural. It's totally unnatural. And by the way, no person can pull that off adequately. I don't care what anybody says, and I'm sick of lying about it. It's absolutely
Wait, get the D? I don't think that's the same thing.
impossible to have a full-time job and be a full-time mom to small kids. It's just
Although honestly, that probably is good for you. And probably good for your mental health. Maybe make you live longer.
not enough time. Doesn't matter how hard you try, how brilliant you are. I think there are a lot of super hardworking moms, but there's just not enough time in the day to pull that off. So that was not the state of play the year
Oh, you guys are talking about vitamin D. Right, yes, vitamin D. We
I
are.
was born.
That's what I was talking about
People
too.
who had kids, and were married, they could get by on one income. And they
100%.
can't now.
And the system has failed Americans in so many ways. And even the healthcare cost portion, so many people go, well, man, I can't afford preventative care. To get a comprehensive blood panel and an hour on the phone with a clinician is $500. And I'm not trivializing. That's a lot of money. But how much do you spend on beer? How much do you spend on your car? You're in your car a few hours a day. You get one body. 400 trillion to 1 is what I told the Senate.
We should fix that. Ghost in the Shell
400
style.
trillion to 1 are the chances that God gave us this life today. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to let these people ruin it and riddle you with chronic disease and illness, your family?
A lot of people with a history of severe skin cancer are working in large farm fields with high amount of pesticide. True, that is true.
It's not about dollars. It's about memories. It's about moments. It's about life you've always wanted and living into your elderly years, being healthy and not chronically ill and not on 4 or more fucking drugs. But the only way we can do that is if this fucking government gets off its ass and starts doing something about what these insurance companies and these pharmaceutical companies
nice
are doing
wish.
to us.
The outset that Trump has said he would like to get rid of the pharmacy benefit managers. What would that mean?
So they're an unnecessary middleman. I think what needs to happen is if you get rid of the pharmacy benefit managers, you get rid of a huge profit center for the insurance companies. You take away their incentive to keep you on prescription drugs. Now they're de-incentivized because you're costing them money. If they don't get those rebates, they're losing money by you being on prescription
So they've
drugs.
done a secret deal that you don't know about as a
Correct.
patient to
100%.
steer you towards certain drugs and away from other drugs.
Absolutely. And they even have a safe harbor with the federal government. The federal government doesn't, this is insanity, Tucker. The federal government does not have line of sight into Medicare and Medicaid and why the prescription drugs
Well, then position better. What the fuck?
are costing them that much. So what the insurance companies do.
What does that mean?
So I'll explain.
Fix
Let's
your
go back to
macro.
insulin. We'll just make up a drug. Drug A is let's say the insurance company tells the people the average wholesale price in America for this drug is $1,000.
Yeah, skill issue, literally.
They never paid the 1,000. They paid 500.
Right,
They
'cause
tell
the
us
rebate.
because the rebate. They tell us it's 1,000. Okay. Now they've set the average wholesale price because they're the ones that set it. Then they negotiate for Medicare, Medicaid with the federal government. And they say, hey, federal government, since you're our buddy, we'll give you a price break. We're going to sell it to you for $800 a month. Better than anywhere in the country. You're getting a $200 price concession per month on this drug. They didn't pay $800. They paid $500. They made $300 off of the federal government every month. And who paid that?
Silo is a mushroom.
You.
And
on 4 or more
federal
prescription
regulators don't know that?
There is a safe harbor, and that's what people are trying to peel through. They're trying to get rid of this safe harbor, and I think the Senate had a investigation they launched, I think 2 years ago, on the cost of insulin. And so when we talk about people celebrating the death of this CEO, it's terrible. But I'm trying to get people to understand where this anger and animosity comes from.
Well, I think it's a fair
People
question.
are catching on the magic trick, and they're going, wait a second, you are screwing us. And the reason my cost of healthcare is so expensive and I can't get my surgeries and my kid's addicted to opioids and my wife is, dying of cancer and I'm fighting with you to get this coverage is because you are literally printing money off of chronic disease. It is not about patient lives and patient outcomes. It's about profits, and they're killing it all the way to the bank.
So if I'm a health insurance lobbyist and I'm like trying to convince the administration or the Congress not to get rid of pharmacy benefit managers, what argument am I making? Like
They're going to come in and say, if there's no pharmacy benefit managers, we're an advocate on behalf of the people. We negotiate down the cost of prescription drug care. Federal government, if you look at this and add the numbers up, the average wholesale price of every drug in America times the amount of patient lives in America, and then I say I'm giving you a 30% price concession on all of the average wholesale price, I can make the math look good. Mm-hmm. But like I said earlier,
but the wholesale price is fake.
It's fake. Yes.
Yep.
Like I said earlier, there's liars, there's damn liars, and then there's statistics.
So they control the
up.
baseline, so they control the outcome.
Yeah, they're basically like overinflating the prices and then giving themselves fucking discounts so that it seems like it's so that they can on paper say that they pay the higher price. But in reality, they're not actually paying that price. But then that's the receipt that they give you. So it makes it look like, oh, I'm getting so much value out of this, right?
Bingo.
Right. Okay.
Bingo. And then they control the copays and deductibles, which drive the behaviors of the patient. If I'm some guy working on an oil rig and I'm working my ass off and I'm exhausted and I'm on 4 more meds and one med is a $20 copay and addictive and abusive with side effects, but the other med is a $100 copay, what do you think most people are going to take? And I think y'all covered this with Callie and Casey, who are my buddies, but the third leading cause of death in America is medical misuse. And that's with us reporting less than 2% of adverse events.
Well, exactly. How many people die of acetaminophen every year? A lot. Thousands. Many thousands. Right. It's just an over-the-counter drug that is, by the way, useful. I'm not attacking it, but even a drug as simple as that can kill you.
And there's so much we could get into with the FDA and all that. But I mean, I don't want to. We could go all day. There's a lot. There's a lot there.
Do you have confidence that Bobby Kennedy will get confirmed? And if so, can
is huge.
Some of this out?
I hope he gets confirmed. I'm not super political. I didn't get political until this, and it's ironic. Bobby, I think, cares, and Bobby, RFK reached out and met with me, and the 2 politicians that I've ever reached out and said I want to talk about this in my adult life were Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, and I've gotten to know both of them, and they're amazing humans and they're good people.
Yes,
and they care about people and they care about this country.
Yeah.
And what I've seen Trump do so far has me more excited. I mean, I talked to Joe about it. We were texting. We're like, we're back. America's back. Like, I am excited that there's hope. But I do give this.
I will say, though, they better fix some shit. Because they have the mandate. All of the voters are on their side. There's, popular vote win, all houses. They better not fuck this up. Like if they take the fucking piss and they drag their asses for 3 years and nothing happens, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
A caveat to the American people: they
need to go hard and they need to go fast right out the gate. No bullshit. Cutesy time is fucking over. Cutesy time is over.
It will take years for the government to overhaul and fix these things if we can do it. Do
you
not
can tell.
wait
I mean,
for them to get.
If you want to know who is sincere about fixing the corruption, they're the ones who are going to have trouble getting confirmed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So the people who are no threat at all, who are just supporters of the status quo and who are in effect supporting the corruption, they're fine.
Yeah.
But, they hate Tulsi Gabbard. Boy, they really hate Tulsi Gabbard.
Crazy.
So if you're wondering if Tulsi Gabbard's sincere, look at the reaction she's getting. She's sincere. And same with Bobby. I do think
I'm not going to lie. If nothing happens here, if nothing happens here, if they don't get anything done, what other chance is there to fix things other than now? What kind of opportunity could they possibly be waiting for? If they don't fix anything now, it's impossible. It's fucking over, basically.
Bobby has such a huge national constituency at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I did a couple Trump events before the election, and Trump got the biggest applause. Of course, it was a Trump event, but Bobby got a pretty close second. I mean, he's not just some random guy.
Yeah.
He is a national leader. So
he has a lot of knowledge about litigation, and that's what it's going to take to be able to.
Well, that's true. That's right.
Get to carve through the bullshit and get to the point. And I will say this: even since he's secured the nomination or been nominated, he's
basically, if they don't get anything done, whether that's them not doing anything or them getting tied up in the system, getting blocked by some weird, whatever deep state you want to call it, it's fucked at that point. Whether or not it's the fault of the whatever Trump administration, whether it's their fault or not, they have unprecedented power right now to fix things. And if they can't fix things now, it's never going to get fixed. That's what I'm saying. So whether or not it's their fault, regardless, it doesn't change the outcome. If they can't fix anything, or they can't even get a little bit done now, it's fucked. It's over.
Called me to say, hey, walk me.
Yeah, Javier Milei is proof that you can make changes, and so is Bukele.
Through this.
If they can't do that, then I mean, what's even the point?
Explain this to me. And he's put me on the phone with people he truly cares and is.
That is true though. Melcher says neocons are going to be the biggest road bump. That's true because even if they control other houses, it's kind of like how much control do they really have? Because a lot of the even like the Republicans are actually shitheads. And it's like I said, I don't like the Republicans either. And there's a bunch of them that are actual grifters, like actual fucking dickheads. And if they get in the way, they need to be called out immediately.
Can we fix it? I mean, we're talking about a major, I agree. Again, we're back to, yes, it's big pharma. Yes, it's big insurance, but who are their puppet masters? I mean, you're talking about the biggest companies in the world, the richest entities.
Maracha says it only takes 3 no's in the House for the bill to fail with the current R lead. Yeah, that's the problem. That's what I was saying. Is that like some of the people are going to be a bunch of dickheads basically, and then at least we'll know who the dickheads are. But it's not ideal.
The world. Can we change this? And so I tell people for $500 a year, you can take all these people out of the equation and you can take sovereignty and accountability over your health, and you can at least begin to get proactive, predictive, and preventative on your own. But one of the things Callie and I have talked about is if we could reform our healthcare system to focus on preventative, to focus on proactive, to force the insurance companies to address metabolic disease rather than pushing weight loss drugs and diabetes medication.
Yeah, short-circuiting your pancreas instead of not eating Taco Bell. It's crazy.
And so there's ways to address this and reduce chronic disease and reduce the cost of healthcare, but they don't want to do that.
Okay, so as I said at the outset, I've opted out of the system just through negligence and craziness and just not going to the doctor, which I'm sure I'll pay for at some point. I'm just too mad to go to the doctor. But let's say you were saner than I am and, wanted to go to the doctor but didn't want to participate in what's clearly a corrupt and distorting system. What are your options?
I tell people, man, if you can find a cash...
If none of this works, guys, there's only one option. Kuro Inu. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Don't take that seriously. It was a joke. It was a joke.
That practices preventative care.
It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Somebody who is not part of the captured system, you will have your mind blown at the level of care you get. Because you can sit down with that clinician and have a deep dive, right? If you were to come into our clinic, we're going to sit down with you and we're going to talk to you about family.
It's just a joke. It's a joke.
History, what medications you're on. What
genetics matter.
Oh, absolutely. There's genetics and there's epigenetics, and your epigenetics are there. So think of the epigenetics are the bullets in the gun. Your diet, lifestyle, and behavior are what pull the trigger. We can help guide your diet, lifestyle, and behavior. but it starts with having a discussion. And it starts with showing you physiologically what you're headed towards. And we can get proactive and predictive. Like I said, I can tell you 7 years in advance if you're headed towards cancer. I can tell you if you're headed towards diabetes, metabolic disease. I can use a DEXA scan and a VO2 max to assess your cardiovascular health. And the future that I think is going to happen is I think we're going to drive down the cost of healthcare astronomically, because what we're doing is we're using large language models and algorithm-based medicine to tie all these data sets together to truly drive health span.
We will truly live in a country.
Because if you want to know the difference, like, and this has been a big hot button. I think Callie even posted it. Japanese men are living 10 years longer on average than American men, right? And who cares if you live to be 90 if you're sick and riddled with disease and on 5 drugs?
No, I agree.
So the goal is to drive health span. And if you look at the difference between somebody who dies at the average American age and a centenarian, somebody who lives to be 100, the only difference is the onset of chronic disease. And so if we can delay the onset of chronic disease, which we can absolutely do, if we get proactive and predictive and develop a strategy and a game plan, think of it like a business. If I know I've got to generate X amount of revenue in Q1, or in Q4, then I can follow the trends to see, am I leading towards that goal or initiative? If we work you through an assessment at Ways to Well and dig in, we know your bone mineral density. We know your visceral fat, your subcutaneous fat. We know all of your biomarkers. We know your genetics, your epigenetics, your family history. We put all that into the algorithm and we begin to get proactive and predictive. We've got a slow bone mineral density loss. One of the biggest risk factors over the age of 65 for women is a fracture, right?
This just reminds me, you want to know what my grandma said on my dad's side? You want to know what my grandma said, like as she was dying? She literally said, like, she was already bedridden at this point. She goes, "I never got cancer. I win." I fucking lolled. I was like, what the fuck?
We know how much bone mineral density you're going to lose a year.
What a thing to say, like, on your way out, like, peace. I'm the best.
Rocket
I was like,
science.
holy shit.
I am not that smart, and I can figure this shit out. How can fucking guys from Harvard, Stanford, John Hopkins not be doing this? It's because all of them are captured in this cost.
To get that assessment done.
A DEXA scan, a
It's
VO2
fucking
max
hilarious.
is literally like $100-something combined. And then blood work is, with us and an hour with a clinician is $500. Less than $1,000, you could have a full workup, including an EEG, a brain scan, AI guided, everything done. And then you've got a blueprint. And then we load the AI algorithm. And what we're launching is a wearable. It ties into wearables. So we have those data sets, but then our AI is tied into a wearable. So we know your REM sleep, your deep sleep, your heart rate variability. And we're cross-referencing all of these data sets and proactively warning you if you're starting to head towards something that could be catastrophic. But that's where I go back to, we do not want this shit in the hands of the insurance companies. They're
So
too corrupt.
I actually didn't plan this interview to be like an ad for your business, but this sounds really interesting. Where do you get this?
Well, I think a lot of people are doing this, so it's not unique to us. I don't want people to think they have to go to us. I would implore people, if you've got the budget at minimal, like I know Dr. Hyman's doing comprehensive blood analysis. There's a ton of companies out there.
Did he Dr.
And so
Hyman?
Hyman's doing comprehensive blood analysis.
What a name.
There's a ton of companies out there. And so the main thing is to truly...
Dr. Hyman doing blood analysis. That's something else.
You and I were talking about carpentry earlier and our obsession with woodworks and making sure you curate the right, aesthetic.
So important.
People spend so much time and energy, and if they are going to remodel their house, they'll interview 5 or 6 contractors. If they're going to get a car built, they'll go interview 3 or 4 mechanics. Why are you not doing that with your body? You only get one of these, and not all doctors are created equal. And if they're in that captured system and you're just blindly following the prescriptions and the drugs this person's telling you to take, you're doing you and your family a disservice. You need to do a deep dive, and we need to make healthcare approachable and fun and understandable, where patients want to be a part of the journey, but the systems beat them up and spit them out. Yeah, and so our thing is like, can we make it fun again? Can we gamify it? Can we have
God, this is what the fuck? Gamify healthcare? I don't want to gamify healthcare. What the fuck is this? Like, Welcome to the tutorial. Here you'll see the front desk. Now you have a quest to go to the blood draw counter. Like, dude, what the fuck?
Compete against our friends where you can show, hey, Tucker's
We Fit is fine. Yeah, that makes sense. But like, dude,
biological age has moved backwards over the last year, while your biological age has
if there
gone
was a
forward.
healthcare-based gacha game with cute women, you'd play it.
He's beating you at the game. He's aging backwards because there's linear age.
I mean, to be fair though, if they did make a really cool fucking anime about going to the doctor, I'd think about it.
Right? Like I'm 44.
It had like a cool fucking opening.
That's my linear age. But my biological age, based off biomarkers, is 35.
No, that sounds work. Like one that was more like about how good it was to go. I
Have you
don't
seen
know.
the income
I'm 9
tax
years
dating
younger
sim?
biologically, physiologically than I am
I
in
see
a
it,
linear
Jen,
age
yeah.
capacity. And that's all calculated by the AI algorithm.
Oh, Blackjack was
so
pretty
I'm basically
fucking
walking
cool.
around like a healthy 35-year-old. And that's how we prevent chronic disease. We quit fucking around with writing a bunch of prescription drugs and we get proactive and predictive, and we could save billions. I mean, $1.5 trillion is what we spent last year.
That's crazy.
Last question: why wouldn't you cover that? You know, could you have a federal health insurance cover that?
That's
Or would
the
that
hope.
destroy it?
That's what Callie and myself and that's what I wanted to talk to Bobby about. Like, you can't let the insurance company capture it, and we don't want the insurance company to have this data because it's dangerous. But could the federal government mandate that the insurance company gives you an allowance a year? Let's just say it's $5,000 a year to use to see a nutritionist, to see a dietitian, to get proactive and predictive and go to whatever clinic you prefer. The insurance reimburses the patient for it, or there's some sort of tax incentive to incentivize us to get
Congress
healthy.
requires the insurance companies to cover all kinds of things instead of a free market.
Why is there no
And my fear
Murcielago
with that,
anime?
though, is if the insurance companies get that, do they demand the data, and do they get? You don't want them having access to this, but this is where we're headed anyway. That's the scary part. That's the part of the equation.
So HIPAA protects nobody, really. It doesn't sound like.
Yeah, well, because the insurance company is going to claim medical necessity, and they're going to need to evaluate you to. In the model we have now, they go, well, I don't think there's medical necessity. I need to see this patient's records, and then they've got some primary care that they're paying that's a consultant to get on the phone and come up with creative ways to deny your claim. It's complicated.
Yeah, well, it's complicated, but it also, the big picture makes absolute sense.
If we drove metabolic disease, like Callie said, if we focused on preventing metabolic disease, we indirectly prevent all the chronic diseases that are killing so many Americans.
Yep.
The number one risk factor for the big 5 killers of humanity is smoking, right?
Yeah.
And the second is age, but age isn't considered a chronic disease. So if we take out age, the number
How can we fix that? That would be cool too.
one risk factor, smoking. The number 2, metabolic disease and obesity. So even when we talked, somebody had, after we testified in front of the Senate, I think it was, I don't even want to give them, the Atlantic, those scumbags posted,
They are.
woo-woo caucus, these people are idiots, what do they know about healthcare? They're claiming that diet impacts cancer. Yeah, you moron. It is literally
Can I
the
ask you a question?
second most crucial thing to driving your cancer risk rates.
Why would it be important for the Atlantic, which is works on behalf of the CIA, fact, but why would it be important for them to lie about something like the link between diet and cancer?
Because there is, this is funny. Yes. Well, multiple reasons, but one is they are also captured. If you look at who previously owned the Atlantic, it was a lobbyist for all of the pharmacy benefit managers. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah, and then they sold to Steve Jobs' widow, and she supports Michelle Obama and Kamala, and she was involved in that. And it was more of, oh my God, if RFK stands for this and RFK backs Trump, we got to discredit these people. And again, that's what I said to the Senate. This is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue.
Yes.
This is a humanity
Fuck yeah,
issue.
I'm on
Yeah.
pro
Stop with your party
humanity.
bullshit. Like nobody.
Exactly. This is how I feel about half the shit. I'm on team humanity, team America.
cares.
Fuck all of this
Stop
shit, you
trying
know?
to fuck us and help us fix this problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care who wants to get behind this, Republican or Democrat. I welcome it with open arms.
Me too.
Let's put our egos aside and work together to fix this. People are dying. It's insane.
And not
But
just-
as we peel back the layers, we went on Joe. Multiple articles came out. Joe and I pulled him up on Rogan. It was, I think, a week after I went and testified in front of the Senate. Joe and I on the podcast go through and methodically look. Monsanto. Multiple hatchet job articles were funded by Monsanto. Then I don't remember who wrote a hatchet
Of all
job.
the things you could attack that people say, why would people be angry at you for saying this? It's just interesting to me.
Well, it's because the funding for those articles come from these lobbying groups that are funded by big pharma, big food, big ag, and they're terrified.
I was a magazine reporter, and I know what it's like to be told by your editor, you should do a piece on this in some way to settle some score or whatever. But if someone said, like, attack someone for saying
I want like Ghost in the Shell. That would be sick.
Might be a link between what you eat and your health, I would say, I'm not going to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
of all the villains in the world, why am I attacking the guy who's pointing out, first of all,
one of the wildest, Tucker, and we went through this on Joe too, but it was, so I own these pharmacies, right?
Yeah.
We make a lot of the GLP-1s and weight loss drugs for pennies on the dollar because it is, let's be real, this is not an obesity drug. It is a diabetes medication.
Right, yes.
And diabetes disproportionately,
Ozempic,
and it disproportionately impacts poverty-stricken communities,
Of course, I
minority
noticed.
communities.
Yeah.
They can't afford this fucking price, and they don't have insurance in a lot of those communities. So our goal is to bring cost-effective prescription medications to the masses to make this affordable for every human. Jilly and Joe, everyone was asking, why are all of these articles coming out about compounding pharma?
Kurmer Onison says, hot take, putting the fork down is free. Well, it's not about just that. It's about like eating like for instance, if you eat like a small amount, but it's like all bad for you, then it's not good, right? It's like how do you solve, like, because it's a natural urge to like be hungry, right? Or if you need to eat something. So like what's called you're talking about GLP-1s.
It's dangerous
specifically
for compounding pharmacies to make these drugs. And I explained it to them. Why is there a huge backlog? There's a huge backlog because
hey,
one,
thank you so much for the prime. Thank you.
But two, because Eli Lilly got several of its facilities shut down via a whistleblower. Eli Lilly had a whistleblower that blew the whistle, and that was the only reason the FDA went into their facility. And what they found was unsterile conditions, people working barefoot. They were lying and misrepresenting the dosages and the amounts. I mean, there's a whole article on it. You can go through that Reuters did that breaks down what happened. So the FDA hammered that facility and shut it down. And so that created a backlog where Lilly didn't have it. Here's where it gets dark. They are paying the media outlets that they fund $8 billion
what is
a year that Big Pharma puts.
Glucagon peptide 1 receptor. Is that Ozempic?
Into the advertising with these media outlets. They are paying them to do stories indirectly, hatchet job articles, scaring people away from cost-effective alternatives like compounding pharmacies.
Shut up and take your Ozempic.
All the meanwhile, so one of these
Wait, this is fucked. Hold on, wait. Is this what it does? GLP-1 mimics the actions of hormone GLP-1, which the body releases after eating to help the body produce more insulin. Helps the body. That's bad, isn't it? You don't want to like eat sugar and then take one and then like you start to become insulin resistant. So you shoot yourself up with this to make even more insulin. That seems bad because insulin's not good for you. Dude, this must have like long-term side effects. There's no fucking way. When did these come out? When did Ozempic? Oh my God, this just came out. Guys, this thing just came out. 2017 for diabetes and 2021 for, dude, I'm not a doctor, but I feel like this can be dude, I wonder if is this going to cause like a bunch of problems later. You know, like I kind of feel like if you're jacked up on insulin, that can't be good. Like in the long term, you just keep giving yourself more insulin when the solution is to stop eating fucking sugar. Wait, it doesn't cause insulin secretion? What does it do? We're going to have documentaries about how bad this shit, dude. We might. It just seems really, really, really sus.
articles came out. I don't even remember who it was. It wasn't The Atlantic. It was, I don't even want to
It slows digestion down to a halt.
give them the credit. Anyways, the article at the end is an advertisement for Eli Lilly. And by the way, Eli Lilly's cutting the prices of Ozempic. They wrote an article about a recall one of my pharmacies had on 28 vials. 28.
Your body needs insulin and usually makes its own. Yeah, but like it's only like it's a certain amount, right? Like all of the chemicals that your body makes are not good in high amounts, right? And if you have sugar, if you eat too much sugar and you get resistant to sugar, so you have to make resistant to insulin, so you have to make more insulin and more and more and more and more, that can fuck you up really bad, right? In other ways, because insulin has other effects, right? Because insulin's a growth hormone, right?
we've treated over 1 million patient lives. We recalled 28 vials proactively. We didn't know for sure if there was a discrepancy, but in an abundance of caution,
Insulin-like growth factor, IGF, is a protein that stimulates growth and is similar to insulin, so it's not the same thing. IGF tests insulin-like growth factor. Okay.
We called it 28 vials. Made national news. Why? That's insanity. That should not be national news. And we know the answer why. And
I have a feeling that it might be bad long-term. I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor, but it just seems sus. It seems like, I don't know.
Meanwhile, the whole
Just my
time,
gut
the
feeling.
FDA's been in my building 3 times in 18 months. There are over 2,000 pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities that the FDA has not been in 5 or more years. Lilly and Pfizer have moved a huge amount of their manufacturing facilities overseas to third world countries like India. And they put them in rural areas where when an FDA inspector goes out there, they got to stay in a shithole hotel that has no water and shit. And so they don't want to go there. And if they do go there, they have to give them a 3 months heads up because they've got to get visas and green cards and or whatever they call them over there, all these things, and negotiate with the country to go in there for months at a time. And so I just say all that because the narrative that's being delivered in the direction it's headed, anything that's FDA approved, and these pharmaceutical companies are not making these super safe products. There's and we could go for hours. There's so much.
Well, I certainly don't take
Really,
it. No chance.
Kuromaru?
But one of the things Trump did, and I'll wrap it up, but Trump, right now, already, Trump said we need to break up the PBMs. He's dead right. Spot on. We need to move manufacturing from overseas back to the United States. That would clean up all of these facilities that these big pharma companies are hiding. And then they're also hiding the dollars, the tax dollars over there, because they're able to hide those dollars overseas and realize those revenue streams overseas, and bringing all that back and putting them right back in this country gives Americans jobs. It creates better oversight. I mean, several of the ideas that they have already floated out are phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for, Ozempic to be made abroad, but, antibiotics are necessary, and those should be made here.
Yeah.
Just for reasons of national security.
Absolutely.
Brigham, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I know it was a lot.
That was the best.
That was interesting.
Somebody, you're going to affect my sleep, but I appreciate it.
I appreciate
I mean, it's like I said, like they gotta fix it. They have a chance. They have all the cards right now, I guess, except for a couple people that might mutiny. Some Republicans. I would blame them, but they need to get their shit together. This is the chance.
it. Thanks, man.